So that was all on the second day of the convention. On the first day, the party voted to back candidates for the other statewide offices. Media personality Joe Pinion, who we just had on the show last week, is now the party's designated nominee for U.S. Senate, running against Chuck Schumer. The party picked Paul Rodriguez as their designated nominee for state controller. He'll run against incumbent controller Tom DiNapoli. And Michael Henry, who was on the show in December, is now the party's endorsed candidate for attorney general, running against incumbent AG Tish James. Assuming those nominees hold, they'll make the most diverse ticket the Republican Party in New York has ever seen. And that's a sign of how the party is trying to evolve to reach more voters. While we were at the convention, I spoke about that and more with State Republican Chair Nick Langworthy. Chairman Langworthy, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
I guess I'm the one here and you're having me.
It's true.
So this is a big convention. You haven't had it since 2018, obviously, because of everything that's happened, 2018, the gubernatorial election. Talk to me about your party's strategy going into this year's elections. It's going to be different from last year, I assume, but how do you switch things up to get statewide candidates elected this year?
Well, you know, our mission since I started running for chairman back in 2019 was not even the 2020 elections, it was the 2022 elections, because we have long focused on this because statewide elections are what's going to change the dynamics here in New York.
Right.
I have long said to change New York, you must change governors of the state of New York. You need to change philosophy in the governor's mansion, and that's what our focus has been. So we started this process, as you know, last April. We started earlier than we've ever started before talking about statewide offices. And our process culminated today with the nomination of Congressman Lee Zeldin as our endorsed candidate for the office of governor. He's worked very hard, you know, this last almost year to go and coalesce the support within the party ranks. And I believe he's going to, you know, take that all the way to November. We also have put forward what I believe is easily the most diverse slate of candidates that our party has ever put forward.
It really is. Talk to me about that. Did it come away, was that natural, or was that something that you were gearing towards for this year?
You know, I've said from the beginning that I felt to make our party viable, to make our party competitive, and to break this streak of losing statewide elections, which has gone on for far too long, we have to have a party that looks like all of New York.
Yeah.
And we need different walks of life to be represented in the only way to do it. It's not about talking about it, saying I'm reaching out or going to an event. It's about putting forward candidates from a diverse background. And we have that in this. I think there's a lot of excitement about the candidacy of Joe Pinion, our next U.S. Senator, to take on Chuck Schumer. I mean, Chuck Schumer, let's face it, hasn't had a real fight since he won the Senate seat, you know, back in 1998, defeating Alphonse D'Amato. That ends this year. And Joe Pinion will take, the Schumer record on in every county, in every corner of the state of New York. And it's not about a senator that shows up, gets a quick press release, a quick snapshot, and leaves. It's about someone that'll be a voice for all New Yorkers, not just the ones for the political affiliation or the ideology he's trying to pander to at that moment.
You know, with statewide candidates like this, you have an enrollment disadvantage with Democrats, about 2-1. So you're going for conservatives, independents, all of those people, and hopefully trying to cross party lines and get Democratic votes as well. Tell me how you do that with these statewide candidates this year.
One of the great uniters that we have found, and we certainly saw it in the 2021 local elections, is the issue of crime and safety and security.
Yeah.
New Yorkers don't feel safe in their communities, no matter if they live in the heart of Manhattan or in Brooklyn or in Buffalo or Watertown. There is a crime problem in the state of New York. That is because the Democrats in this state have dismantled the criminal justice system as we knew it. We have incredible cops, law enforcement officers, district attorneys. They can't do their jobs because the laws have changed, and they are skewed to the lawbreaker, not the person that we're trying to keep safe. So your family safety and security, your property, that is not the priority of the Democrats that are in power. It was asked out loud of Andrea Stewart-Cousins and Carl Hastie and Kathy Hochul. And there's no change coming to these bail reform laws in this session. It's lunacy. and it's going to permeate down to our Assembly and our Senate campaigns, our local offices, our races for Congress. Safety and security is on the ballot, and the Republican Party is well established. We back the blue. We support your family's safety and security. The Democrat Party is standing in the way of restoring that.
How do you balance that with, well, the Democratic Party says they did bail reform to try to undo some of the racial injustices in the criminal justice system. How do you balance those two things in your party? I heard you say before, obviously the system needed some fixing. So how do you do that moving forward? Is it just about repealing bail reform? What do you do additionally?
You have to be honest. And Andrew Cuomo wasn't honest when he shoved this in budget bills in the middle of the night without a hearing, without consultation of law enforcement officials or district attorneys. I mean, I didn't understand the gravity of it myself until I traveled county to county, and I'd be at a dinner and I'd be grabbed by the sheriff. He says, "You got to know what's going on right now. You got to know what they're going to do to me and our officers and our ability to do our jobs." That was the education point for me and how I understood the problem was coming on January 1st. And then that hit, and then COVID right after. So as this was the absolute number one issue in the state of New York, the pandemic, got in the way a bit. But this is still here. It's roiling. It's disrupting lives. And let's face it, how much of this was about honest public policy and how much of it is about being woke? In pandering to an extreme left-wing agenda. New Yorkers don't want to be woke anymore. They're awake. They see what's happened. They see the results, and the results are bad. They need fix. They need those results to be fixed. They need people that will be on their side, because you really have to ask out loud, what side are these politicians on that won't fix a problem that's blatant and obvious?
So on that same theme, last question for you. Democrats are going to try to tie you to the far right of the party, as your party tries to tie Democrats to the far left. How do you separate yourself from that? Or do you want to separate yourself from that wing of the party? Or is it kind of like a big tent attitude about it?
I think we're going to talk about the issues that are important to New Yorkers. And listen, Democrats are going to say, they've had one, very lame playbook for a bunch of years. But at the same time, I don't see a single Democrat that's looking to go out and really campaign on the virtues and all the wonderful things that are happening in the country right now in the Biden administration. The current state of affairs is in how Americans and New Yorkers are going to ask themselves this November, are we better off when we were 1 year ago? And I think almost every person would say, of course we're not. Things are going very badly right now.
Is there room for everybody in the Republican Party, or is there a point where you say, you've identified with us, but maybe you don't align with all of our values?
We welcome everyone. I mean, we're putting together a diverse slate. We have gone and created new organizations within the NYGOP. Last night we announced the creation of the Asian American Caucus of our party, because we see Asian voters gravitating towards the Republican Party, by leaps and bounds. The results of the last city elections really show heavily Asian populations moving drastically towards the Republican nominee for all the issues that you and I have just talked about. And they're finding a home in our party, they're welcome in our party, and they're leaders in our party.
All right, State Republican Chair Nick Langworthy, thank you so much.
Thank you
to our live studio audience.
That's right. It's really great to be joined by the press corps for this.